I'm John Hinkle, the senior pastor of First Presbyterian Church. This is your Saturday preview of Sunday morning sermon, which I'm definitely doing on Saturday. I look great, don't I? And I'm going to play pickleball in a few minutes. These are my pickleball glasses. I don't think you've ever seen them. They're kind of dirty right now. I got to be honest with you. Happy Saturday. We are continuing our series of sermons in the month of June, looking at Jesus being the way. As you have already know, if you've been in worship with us, the way was a term that was given to the followers of Jesus before the church was even a church. It was a term given by the religious authorities in Jerusalem to describe those who believed that Jesus was the Messiah promised by the prophets of old, and more than just that Jesus lived and was crucified and died on the cross, but 3 days later was raised from the dead, and a belief by the believers of Jesus Christ that anyone who would follow Jesus would receive this same life eternal. So we've been, as our kind of proof text to the way, we've been using Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, starting in the 5th chapter of the Gospel of Matthew. We're going to continue using the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus talks about what we call the antithesis, the sixth antithesis, which is, you have heard it said, and he's talking about certain laws, you've heard it said, but I say to you. Now, the antithesis that we are going to look at is, you need to love those who love you and hate those who hate you. But Jesus says, I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. So if you look at the sixth antithesis, they come from the law of Moses. Remember the law of Moses, the original 10 was when the Hebrew people came out of the desert, and God gave Moses the 10 commandments. The first 3 laws deal with God's relationship with man, and then laws 5 through 10 deal with our relationship with man. So first 3, God and man. 5 through 10 is man and man. And then the 4th commandment is the bridge commandment. It bridges God and man, that relationship that we have together, which is honoring the Sabbath and keeping it holy. So when we look at the sixth antithesis, it covers a lot of laws. Thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not commit adultery. It talks about how you get a divorce. It talks how you interact with your neighbors. And when you look at it on the surface, you go, okay, well, that's, man, it's hard to follow the law. But Jesus said, listen, if you're going to follow me, it gets harder. For example, Jesus said, talking about murder, Jesus said, you've heard it said, thou shalt not murder. But I say to you, anyone who has an issue with their brothers or sisters and cannot resolve that issue, that's just as bad. Or with adultery, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say to you, anyone who has a lustful heart for another human being needs to poke out both of their eyes. Wow. And so we're going to look at the sixth antithesis and kind of get to what I think Jesus is really getting to, which is this notion that in the Old Testament, people follow the law in order to be saved. But Jesus calls us to live out the law because we are saved. It's really talking about how we live out our lives. So I look forward to being with you this Sunday. Remember, immediately following worship, there's going to be a congregational meeting. So if you've been at First Presbyterian Church, that won't go too long. Sunday school starts at 9, worship at 10:15, and we just kind of look forward to seeing everybody. Have a great day.